what we're going to do now is talk about a way that we can provide positive reinforcement or a positive interaction with the dogs in a way that adds a little structure that helps them look at you guys as authority figures. So right now, George will come up and stick his nose, even though this is not George, but he'll stick his nose underneath the arm, kind of nudging, like, there you go. George's like, let me show you. So that's his way of giving us a demand, pet me. So if I pet him, then I'm reinforcing that he is in charge of me and he has the authority to tell me what to do because I'll do it. So instead, sit. So this is the second part. I'll come back to this one. So instead, when he scratches at me or nudges me, I tell him to sit. As soon as he sits, then I reach over and pet him, and I say the word sit once. Usually the same time I start touching him. Now, I like to pet a dog, if possible, under their chin like this.
Yeah.
When a dog is happy or proud about what's done, its nose is parallel to the floor like this or tilted upward. You might have seen one of your dogs walking around with a toy with their nose in the air. They feel really good about themselves. I want the dogs to feel good about themselves doing what I call desired behaviors, sitting, coming on command, laying down, those sort of things. So what I do is when he nudges me, I say sit. As soon as he sits, I reach over and say sit. I don't say good sit or what a good boy, George. Sit, and that's the only thing I say. Now, if I want to continue petting him after that, I can do that, and then I can talk to him. And like, can you believe that woman cut me off at traffic, or whatever you want to say. That's healthy for us to do. But we want to assign the word, even though they know how to sit. The more that we practice it, the better at it they'll get in other situations, like when there's excitement because people are at the door. So the first way we do it is if he nudges us or scratches at us, we give him a counter order. The second way we do it, and this is also called passive training, is eventually what's going to happen is the dog's going to come start sitting in front of you and looking up at you and say, look, I'm George and I'm sitting here. Shouldn't you be paying attention to me? Well, yes, we should. So we need to acknowledge that and reward them for doing that. Otherwise, they're going to go back to nudging you or scratching you or using their nose. So nose, if I can speak properly. So if every time that you said that the really only command where they know is sit or go to the dog bed, if their feet are muddy. So what I would do is as soon as the dog LAYs or SITs, reach over and pet it and say sit or crash if you want to use my word, whatever word you want to use for a lay down position. Now, we're not asking them to do it. We're just rewarding them for actually doing it. Now, because dogs learn through association, if our timing is within 3 seconds, if every time I lay down, I get a little mini massage and I hear the word crash, after enough, 50, 75, whatever the number is, after a while I hear crash, I just lay down, I get attention. Well, then I'm going to start doing that more often to try to get attention. So the first way we do petting with a purpose is as a counter order. The second way that we do it is if the dog does the command on its own. Then we just reach over and say sit or crash. Petting with a purpose is probably the easiest thing that you can do that will have the best ROI. Because after a while, you'll do it without even thinking about it. And every time you do it, it's like a little mini lesson in terms of you have to do something for the humans to ask, to get something. Now I'm going to show you how to use a hand motion to get them to sit without even saying anything. Come. So if I go over the head like this, see how that put their butt down? So I just start out parallel with their nose and then go over their head towards their butt. And as they go up, that puts their butt down. As soon as the butt hits the ground, I lower it and I scratch them here. Now the reason I do it under here is again because I want them to feel good about what they're doing. But the other thing is when I give a treat, this is how I hold it. I hold it like, if I can do it here, this is a slippery one, like the Vulcan way, in between my fingertips, right about there. So if I go, come, sit. So I let him lick it off my fingers, and then I start immediately tickling him here. We talked a little bit earlier about Pavlov's dog. It's association. So what happens is if at the same second he gets a treat on his lips, he feels this scratch under here, and he hears the word sit. After a while, this is analogous to getting the treat. So then we won't always have to give a treat. Now the other thing is, a dog can see that you don't have a treat after a while. They're both tracking now, but if I do it enough without there being a treat, they know. Now if I go like this, I don't have a pocket on this side, so I can go like this. So I have both of their attention because from their perspective, it looks like I'm holding something in my hand. So if you always give them a treat like this, those times you don't have one, and it just gets them used to that hand motion, and then scratching underneath. Now what I would suggest is that when you're using treats to condition them for the first week or two, give them a treat every time. Then the second week or the third week, you go to every other time. Then after that, every third time. So it gradually diminishes. But if we just stop all of a sudden, that cold turkey can be like, well, you're not giving me a treat anymore, so I'm not going to do what you want. But petting with a purpose, like I said, is the easiest thing that you can do. It will have the biggest impact. Now, I would suggest that you guys come up with a word. I usually suggest paycheck. So if you hear paycheck and you're like, sit or down. And you ask the dog to change its state and then pet. Now, let's say that she's petting George and you come in and if they ever do this, you immediately stop petting. He's putting his paw on top of me. That's a control. So as soon as he does that, the consequence is we stop petting. So if you come in and you see her petting George and you're like, paycheck, you need to go like this and then say, down. We'll eventually get him to do, okay, sit. And then pet him again, sit. Now,
Wait, I'm sorry, I don't understand paycheck.
Paycheck means that you're petting the dog without him earning it first.
Oh, okay.
So instead of arguing and say, no, I asked him to do it, even if you asked, you just say, okay, and then stop, and then ask the dog to lay down or do something else. Because asking him to do it isn't asking very much, but each time we do that, it helps reinforce things. So it's just another opportunity to practice. But I see a lot of couples are like, I already asked him, and they get in an argument. Well, the dogs can see that you're not Watusi. And so that kind of helps. You know, if you guys are on the same page and they're on the opposite page, they want to get on your page. But if you guys aren't on the same page, then it's okay if I'm on my own page too, because that's the house that we live in. So that's petting with a purpose, excuse me.